audience. Welcome. In China, the color is red. Morocco, they wear yellow. Spain, it's black. India, they wear silk with gold embroidery. In Israel and America, people typically wear white. What am I describing to you? The color of traditional bridal gowns in different cultures around the world. Weddings around the world are not all the same. Depending on the region and culture of the people you are surrounded by, wedding traditions and ceremonies are unique in their own ways, and they hold different meanings depending on where you are located in the world. Typically, when I think of a wedding, I picture what a wedding looks like in my culture. I do not take into consideration that there are different rituals around the world. The three main points that I want to discuss are bridal dress color, ceremony traditions, and celebrations. Now, let's begin with different bridal dress colors and the meanings behind them. The gown a woman wears on her wedding day is very symbolic in any culture, from the style to the color being the most symbolic part. In some cultures, wedding dress colors are important because of the religious meanings behind them. In Israel, they wear white to symbolize purity and blue to symbolize mystical power. In Morocco, brides tend to choose the color yellow because the color scares away the evil eye. In some countries, brides wear a color that represents the villages or area they are from. In India, the color of the bride's silk sarara is either red or white, depending on the region, and then the gown is embroidered with gold thread. In Africa, brides wear a colored gown that represents the village they are from. In some cultures, the bridal dress color is symbolic of something. In China, brides usually wear bright red because red is the color of luck and joy. In Spain, Spanish Roman Catholic brides wear black because it shows their commitment until death. Now that we've talked about color, let's consider the importance and difference in wedding ceremonies around the world. There are many differences in the ways ceremonies are performed around the world. In Japan, couples drink 9 cups of sake during their wedding. In Malaysia, couples offer up cups of tea to the elderly in a traditional Malaysian celebration. Many cultures bring different things to a ceremony to show their devotion to one another. In Russia, the bride and groom release a pair of white doves to show their union and love to one another. In Ethiopia, the bride and groom wear robes over their wedding attire to symbolize that their marriage is a covenant before God. Not all brides walk down the aisle and are greeted in the same way either. In a traditional Chinese ceremony, a bride is carried to her groom and the family in a traditional carriage. In Yoruba, the groom and his friends lie face down toward the bride's family to show submission before the bride is presented under a veil. Now that we've talked about ceremony differences, let's consider the most exciting part of the wedding that the guests get to participate in, the celebration. Wedding celebrations vary depending on culture in the same way that the ceremonies have differences. Some wedding celebrations last days while others last just a few hours. During a typical wedding celebration in America, a wedding celebration will last a few hours with some food, dancing, cutting of the cake, and a bouquet toss, and guests seeing the bride and groom off. In India, wedding ceremonies can last for days. There is typically an engagement ceremony that is at the home of the bride one day. The next day is the actual ceremony, and then there are days of celebrations with food and dancing that follows. Food also plays a huge part in weddings and in wedding celebrations. Rice ball soup is served in China to the bride and groom. It is a symbol that the bride and groom's marriage will be a happy, smooth sailing one. In Brazil, little sponge cakes called bem casados are served to guests when they leave the celebration. They're 2 little cakes that are glued together with icing. These little cakes represent the happy union that the bride and groom have just made. Food, music, dance all play a huge role in wedding celebrations. Just like every culture around the world is unique in their own way, so is their weddings and ceremonies. I'd like to play a little bit of music for you that shows the differences in wedding celebrations. Here's a traditional song from India. I had the wrong one. And here is a traditional song from Egypt. Differences in wedding dress, ceremonies, cakes, the music, celebrations are all what makes each one beautiful in their own special way. It is important that we keep in mind the differences in wedding celebrations and the meanings behind the differences in ceremonies, to be culturally sensitive and to see the beauty in people who are doing things differently than what we are used to, no matter where someone is from. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah.